Thanks for joining me. If you've been watching the news the last couple days, you'll see that there's been a lot of news breaking. Some of the news you guys probably already knew because you guys are so informed. But you see this phone call that Biden had with Poroshenko. I think it was in November of 2016 after Trump had won. It leaks. Now, this phone call had leaked, I think it was years ago, because I can remember it. But now it's hitting the news waves, the cycle again. It just so happens that that's hitting the cycle at the same time that I believe it's Igor Kolomoisky is currently being raided right now by the Ukrainian government. And Kolomoisky's the Burisma founder. He's the Privat bank owner. He's Hunter Biden's business partner, or his boss, basically. We're going to talk a little bit about Hunter Biden today. We're going to talk a little bit about the fact that Russia put sanctions on him a year ago, and now we're kind of starting to figure out why, in case you guys didn't already know. If you don't follow War Clandestine on Twitter, he's back up, or you could subscribe to his Substack. Kanekoa the Great's got something going, a nice thread on the biolabs now too. But these were known about a year ago. In fact, broken by Clandestine. Of course, and then he was promptly banned from Twitter. So let's get into some of this. Hunter Biden, the war criminal. Oh, what a tangled web we weave. With information moving so fast today, and with the MSM working hard to keep you in the dark, it's hard to remain focused on the things that are important. As I've spoken about before, much of what we are seeing is propaganda. However, some things are not propaganda, like those sanctions that Russia imposed on many of the U.S. or the Ukraine coup players, I should say, during the initial month of this conflict last year is when Putin did this. Looks like there's some light being shown on some of this stuff now. As many of you already know, there's a name on that sanction list that will seem very odd to the regular MSM watcher, Hunter Biden. After all, he's held no government position and is not considered to be near the levers of power in any way, shape, or form. Many know a lot about Hunter's ties to the biolabs in Ukraine, though, through Rosemont Seneca Partners, who then invest in Metabiota, which then is the administrator for all of the biolabs that are in Ukraine. Nobody even knows this except those who go out to look for it. So maybe it's the Metabiota relationship that Hunter's being sanctioned in the biolabs, but it could have to do with his no-show gig at Burisma too, because we see Kolomoisky getting raided yesterday. When we start to dig down into it all to find out what's going on, it seems to open up a can of worms, so to speak. It becomes clear that the only reason the younger Biden is involved in any way is due to his father being nominated as the point man for Ukraine by Obama after the completion of the color revolution known as the Maiden Revolution. And I've got briefly, I have an excellent video that I did on communist regime change and color revolutions on Rumble and YouTube. If you guys want to check it out, I'll leave you guys a link. We could probably start with what many of you have heard about now for some time, Burisma Holdings. When one researches Burisma from the usual source, the fog of war, the layering, where there's so many layers used by these people in order to hide the deception. They use complex business structure with mergers and parent companies. They will obfuscate by slipping team members, quote unquote, onto the board of directors, etc., making it all a mucky mess. Burisma was founded in 2002 by Mykola Zlochevsky and Mykola Lysin. Mykola Lysin was killed in a single-car vehicle accident in 2011, leaving Mika Zlochevsky with full ownership of Burisma. Interesting. car crash. Shortly after Leeson's death, Burisma was acquired by Brocidi Investments Limited. And folks, here comes that layering that I was speaking of, that obfuscation. Brocidi Investments is owned by Darapon Commercial Limited. And Darapon Commercial Limited is owned by Privat Group, which owns Privat Bank. And so Privat Bank owns Darapon, which owns Brocidi. So Privat Bank holds de facto control over Brocidi, and thus Burisma. And I'd like to point you all to that leaked phone call in November of 2016 between Joe Biden, the Ukraine frontman, and Poroshenko, the globalist installed president of Ukraine, where Biden speaks about having to move quicker with their plans due to Trump with regard to U.S. taxpayer loans that will be received by Privat Bank. And subsequently, we know that Privat Bank is now under investigation for possible laundering related to Privat Bank using that U.S. tax money to pump Privat Bank shell companies rather than having it go to the people of Ukraine and its infrastructure. Well, who owns Privat Bank? Igor Kolomoisky, owner of Privat Bank, is a Ukrainian oligarch. And folks, he's a Khazarian Jew, spoken about in the audiobook on this channel entitled The Basis for Our Confusion, which you should listen to in order to get a better, broader idea of who it is that we're dealing with. I'll leave you a link to that also. Kolomoisky's been involved in corruption for at least the last 20 years that we can see and is a staunch anti-Russian. However, I suspect if Russia were still communist that he wouldn't be so anti towards them. Kolomoisky served as governor of one of the eastern provinces of Ukraine immediately following the Maidan Color Revolution, which he helped lead. He owns the largest bank, Privat Bank, in Ukraine, and that bank controls the largest energy infrastructure company in Ukraine, Burisma Holdings, where President Joe Biden's son, Hunter, sits on the board, making at least $80,000 a month. Then, of course, everyone knows about Shokin, Alexander Shokin, Victor Shokin, I believe, the prosecutor in Ukraine, which his investigation would have essentially shut down Burisma. And we know all about Joe's phone call at the CFR circle jerk that he had in 2016 or 17, where he bragged about threatening Poroshenko, telling him he's not going to get our money, our money, that I was cutting ridiculous checks every 3 months to the government for in taxes when I own my businesses, and they were shipping it over to this scumbag, and his bank was supposed to see it all through and everything. And so anyways, Shokin was going to put an end to that. Of course, Biden put an end to that, bribed him with our money, quid pro Joe. Now, while interim governor of this eastern province region in Ukraine, I can try and pronounce it for you. He was the governor of the Dnipropetrovsk region, and he became known as Ukraine's Hitler during that time. Kolomoisky was able to leverage the fact that Ukraine had such an ill-prepared army that was taking a beating in the east, and was able to install his very own National Guard battalions, the main one being the Azov Battalion. You guys know about that if you're listening to this channel. Now, the MSM has reported on all of this in the past. I'll give you an excerpt from Reuters. Some of Ukraine's private battalions have blackened the country's international reputation with their extremist views. The Azov Battalion, partially funded by Taruta and Kolomoisky, uses the Nazi wolf's angel symbol as its logo, and many of its members openly espouse neo-Nazi anti-Semitic views. The battalion members have spoken about bringing the war to Kiev and said that Ukraine needs a strong dictator to come to power who could shed plenty of blood, but unite the nation in the process. So they're all for this guy. He's anti-Semitic as hell, but God forbid Kanye West brings in a net and a can of Yahoo And now they take his billions of dollars away from him. But not Hunter. His billions and his millions, he can keep getting those. They don't care. Don't look at this anti-Semitic Khazarian Jew, basically a Nazi. Don't look at him. One of Kolomoisky's other battalions has been accused by Amnesty International of war crimes. And here's a paragraph from Reuters on that. Quote, these battalions have been involved in widespread abuses, including abductions, unlawful detention, ill treatment, theft, extortion, and possible executions, including beheadings. There's no possible about it. That's Reuters being biased by inserting possible executions. These people are thugs. This information is to show how powerful of a man he is in Ukraine. He owns the biggest bank, controls the energy sector infrastructure through Burisma, owns the largest media corp in Ukraine, 1+1 Media it's called. He practically financed the 2014 Nazi coup of Ukraine with the help from a lot of Americans, also known as the Maidan Revolution. And using his media company, 1+1, he took current President Volodymyr Zelensky under his wing, basically financing his and running Zelensky's whole successful bid for presidency. Zelensky was a star actor for Kolomoisky, played the piano with his penis. 1+ Media for Kolomoisky's 1+ Media Corporation. Zelensky's completely controlled by Kolomoisky, and it's not really much of a secret. So, but let's start to bring it all together here. Kolomoisky sponsors a neo-Nazi death squad, literally, openly reported on by all media sources. Kolomoisky is one of the main high-level players both on the ground, as he was governor for a time, and financially of the Maidan Revolution, which was nothing more than a Nazi coup of the previous government. Now, when we think about Putin's speech at the start of this invasion, I don't know if any of you guys read it, the things he had to say. The news didn't cover it. I read it. You got to go to the sources, period. I mean, were you going to take the news and let them tell you what he was saying? You're crazy. In Putin's speech, he talked a lot about the denazification of Ukraine. And then again, when they had peace talks that was briefly attempted last year, denazification was one of the terms Putin continued to bring up. Looking at it this way, taking these people for their words rather than taking the words of the media and the narrative, we see that denazification is a main goal for Putin in Ukraine. That's odd, right? That's fake. There's no Nazis there. That's what the media wants you to think. But yet it's Putin's main reason for going to war there. But there's none there. That Putin's not that dumb. He wouldn't make that up with there's something there. So if denazification is a main goal, then that means that this Nazi infiltration into Ukraine must exist. And it must be quite bad. So it's probably systemic throughout the whole country. And so if a large, powerful Nazi infiltration into Ukraine does exist and are running Ukraine, which seems to be the case, then this means that the government is committing war crimes, as Amnesty International has openly claimed. Now, that's the Burisma and the Nazi side of things, but we know that Putin also cited these bioweapons labs in Ukraine, eventually showing Slav-specific viruses with plans to inject them into migratory birds and sent into Russia. This is the biolab side of it. We see that the first action Putin took in Ukraine was the taking out of the biolabs. This biolab work looks to have been established by Senator Barack Obama and Senator Lugar, called the Nunn-Lugar Biological Agreement, with massive escalations in this program between 2008 and 2013 when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. And Hillary Clinton's also has been sanctioned by Putin last year. It's all coming from this stuff. Hillary Clinton's sanctioned just like Hunter Biden is. I think it has to do with these biolabs. Speaking of the biolabs, Supposedly, there's over 35 of them in Ukraine, operated under the Pentagon's Defense Threat Reduction Agency, the DTRA program, from 2008, which was the beginning of HRC's tenure at the State Department up until 2017. And they were constructed and operated by Black & Veatch. Now, just butting in briefly, this is the problem that I see with this devastating information and other similar info. It's that it's too confusing, too many layers for most people's minds to be able to follow along with. This emphasizes the need for an honest news organization that can present factual information to us in an unbiased way, helping to make sense of these complicated situations. But since we don't have that, I'm going to try and do it. Black & Veatch is a global engineering, procurement, construction, and consulting company specializing in infrastructure development in power, oil and gas, water, telecommunications, government, mining, data centers, smart cities, and banking and finance markets. They're into everything. That's everything important in this world. That's Black & Veatch. In 2014, a firm called Metabiota, which specializes in detecting, tracking, and analyzing potential disease outbreaks, signed an $18.4 million federal contract as a subcontractor for Black & Veatch in Georgia and Ukraine. Now, Georgia is the former Soviet. In a 2016 meeting in Lviv, Ukraine, representatives of Black & Veatch and Metabiota discussed biological security, safety, and surveillance with representatives of Ukraine, Poland, and the United States. In 2015, amid these clandestine projects, Google funded Metabiota to the tune of $1 million. They wanted Metabiota to start a search engine or something? The hell's Google doing with a company like this? I just told you Metabiota is involved with detecting, tracking, and analyzing potential disease outbreaks. So Google is investing in money. Metabiota was started by CIA asset Nathan Wolf with help from U.S. President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, and his investment firm, Rosemont Seneca Technology Partners, RSTP, which Hunter founded alongside John Kerry's stepson in 2009. You're all being fucked, folks, and so am I. So Rosemont Seneca was founded by Hunter and John Kerry's son. In June of 2021, Natalie Winters of the National Pulse detailed the Biden and Kerry firm's funding of the San Francisco-based Metabiota. A June 2015 financial report shows that Rosemont Seneca Technology Partners gave Metabiota $30 million to help protect the world from the spread of epidemics. And how'd that work out? Great for them. 1 year before Rosemont Seneca Technology Partners began funding Metabiota, the disease tracking company partnered with the now infamous Echo Health Alliance under the USAID's PREDICT project. And this was the PREDICT project, real quick, was just to predict pathogens, viruses that get out, pandemics. And Echo Health Alliance, we've got a whistleblower that's come out, and I know, and he lives up in Michigan right now, and where I'm at, and he was a CIA asset, and they double-crossed him because he was going to go public with the information about coronavirus being man-made and all this stuff. And they sent people to his house with guns. He had to call the police. I mean, the guy's lucky. He's probably lucky he's still alive. I can't think of his name, but I'll get that to you guys in the description the next day or so. So Echo Health, I hate to tell you guys, but I believe that Echo Health is basically just a CIA, I don't want to say a shell company because they actually do things in the healthcare field, but I think it's completely intelligence controlled, unfortunately, because I think the vice president or whatever of Echo Health is now a whistleblower. He got the hell out of there, was trying to tell what was going on. So Metabiota teamed up with Echo Health to get involved in the Predict project to predict when these things are going to occur, pandemics. Echo Health is the group that Anthony Fauci used to funnel money to the Wuhan lab after the Obama administration put a halt to the dangerous gain of function research in 2014. So that's the gist of Echo Health, is that when Obama supposedly made gain of function illegal, they just kind of outsourced it using Echo Health, and they went ahead and worked with Wuhan. And of course, that's the other biological labs. They were working in Ukraine, but then they were working at the Wuhan lab too. So this Metabiota and Echo Health, they're involved in all of these biolabs, not just in Ukraine. And don't think that Ukraine is significant. They're going to be everywhere. They got them in Taiwan. They're controlling the world through these biolabs, you guys, because at any time they have race-specific viruses now. So if they got this biolab in Taiwan, well, guess what? They may do a race-specific, to Asian person. I don't know the older name for an Asian person, but they can have them specific. They can hold the world hostage. And Echo Health is a big player in that. And so when Obama canceled the gain of function, Echo Health just started doing it on their own. It's fascism too, on their own, on the sides. Now, besides Hunter Biden, Google, and the Pentagon, thanks, Derek. Besides Hunter Biden, Google, and the Pentagon, Metabiota is in a working relationship with known CIA front in QTEL. Public knowledge. Go look it up. Quote, Metabiota provides capabilities to better understand infectious disease risk via open source data fusion and sophisticated epidemic simulations, end quote. A top in-QTEL employee said when the groups partnered. So this is an in-QTEL employee. You guys know about in-QTEL. Okay, its founder, Metabiota's founder, Nathan Wolfe, is no doubt a CIA asset of some sort, just like Echo Health's vice president was. Based on his internet bio especially, he's most likely an agent from the farm, as there is absolutely nothing on this guy with regard to any early personal life. Only his age, his place of birth, and his spouse. And dude, that's always a red flag. No parents' names, no mother's maiden names, nothing to work with. And so we must go on what we have. And my rule of thumb is to always follow that money. And so when we take a look at what public information there is on this spook, we see that he serves on the editorial board of Echo Health and Scientific American and is a member of DARPA's Defense Science Research Council. The dude comes out of nowhere. He has no background that anyone can find. You guys are good researchers. Maybe you guys can come up with some kind of background information on him, but I can't find nothing. Always a red flag. Definitely a CIA asset. Probably raised from the farm, like I said, because there's nothing on the dude. And look at everything he's involved in. I mean, he's involved in all this stuff. So, editorial board of Eco Health and the editorial board of Scientific American and a member of DARPA's Defense Science Research Council. So they seem to be involved in everything that's been going on over the last 7 or 8 years. Wolf, the CEO of Metabiota, has been awarded more than $40 million in funding from a diverse array of sources, including, and now take a look at this list, folks, the U.S. Department of Defense, Google, as I stated, the National Institutes of Health, there's Fauci, the Skoll Foundation, Skoll, some of you have heard of that, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and National Geographic Society, which those are all the usual suspects. They're all the exact same people, maybe aside from Nat Geo, that we've had to hear so much from over the last 3.5 years, what with this pandemic. Very interesting to me. It's the same players. It's been like that for 30 or 40 years, at least. So this would mean, from the looks of things, that a Nazi-controlled government is and has been for some time in control of over 35 bioweapons labs that, as far as I can tell, are internationally illegal to have. Clandestinely funding and operating them is indeed a war crime. And ironically, Hunter Biden seems to be involved in all facets of this. Now, we all know that Hunter isn't some hardworking go-getter that's out there hustling all day, busting his butt, trying to provide for his family. No, he's a crackhead. So my question is, who is behind Hunter? If any name other than Joe Biden comes out of your mouth, you need to turn in your voter registration card. What we have here is a Ukrainian Khazarian oligarch controlling Joe Biden, who then controls his son, Hunter, having him be the bag man and create that layer of separation from Joe Biden, the politician. With the raids of Joe Biden's residences and his centers, with this classified information stuff, and then we see certain investigators are going into the laptop from hell and they're pulling out information like where Hunter attempts to sell classified information on Russians, I believe, to an aluminum company called Alcoa Inc. for $55,000. Now, how does Hunter have classified information? Okay. So again, with the rating of Joe's residencies with these classified document stuff coming out, now we see that with Hunter, and now we see also Kolomoisky gets raided 2 days ago by the Ukrainian government. Do you guys find this odd? Let's go back a little bit even further, even to this. Let's talk about this classified documents scandal stuff. I just did a post with some screenshots on YouTube, and I asked the question: does anybody believe that? No, honestly, does anybody? Here's the official story. Joe Biden's lawyers, so these are presidential lawyers, his lawyers are supposedly finding classified information. They just found it in November. Hey, I found some classified information. Let's go and turn it in. And then it's all being found by the lawyer. Then the lawyers found more in the garage, and then the lawyers found more at the Penn Center. Who believes this? Joe Biden's lawyers are going around. Come on, you guys, think logically. Joe Biden's lawyers are going around searching his home for no reason. Hey, let's go search the garage, guys. Come on. I mean, we got briefs to fill and we got this to worry about, but let's go search a garage. Let's go search. Who's doing this? This smells funny. First of all, we know how much control the deep state has. We know how much control these controllers have. Have been for years, decades for sure. Thousands of years, but for decades they've had a grip, at least since Reagan, on the United States and the bureaucracy. And that includes of course, all these SES employees, but it includes these lawyers. These lawyers, Norm Eisen, go look him up. This guy's behind the color revolution we're witnessing in the United States right now. Norm Eisen is one of the biggest players in all of this shit that you guys had never heard of. I mean, a lot of you guys have, but so lawyers are big into this bureaucracy, deep state. Do you think, so Joe's going to have a bunch of lawyers that are not on team, are not loyal to him? And when I say loyal to Joe, it's not loyal to Joe. They're loyal to the great work. They're loyal to the bigger picture. Okay? They're not loyal to Joe. And when you understand that, and you understand all these people are in place in order to further their goals, their great work. Joe's furthering the great work. So why is it that on-team lawyers would turn on him and start turning him in? Hey, let's go look for some documents, guys. Hey, there's some. Let's turn them in. It doesn't make any sense. So having said that, when we think about him getting raided numerous times now, they're not saying what they're finding. They're being real tight-lipped on it. And then you see people point out Hunter selling classified information. And then you see Kolomoisky get raided. Is any of this connected? Sure think so. Now, especially for you black pills out there, we're screwed, right? These people have so much control over our world, it's not even funny. If you got kids, put them in the other room. We've been getting fucked by these people for decades. And I say that because it's so damn frustrating, because you think something good's going to come. And you guys, most of you have seen it, how frustrating it is. And you get roped into the bullshit. Oh, this is it. We're going to get them this time. And then Trey Gowdy, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Goes out there, talks a little bit about Benghazi, and it all fizzles out. So I understand how this would be unbelievable to many. But maybe, just maybe, there's good people still out there that are still holding on to some threads of control and might quite possibly be doing right. Maybe this is the one. Because I find it odd that Kolomoisky gets raided by the Ukrainian government. If you just listen to this presentation, you understand that Kolomoisky's been buddies with Zelensky for years. This goes before his presidential run. This goes to 1+1 Media that Kolomoisky owns. This goes back to Zelensky's days of acting and playing the piano with his penis, standing next to another dude. This goes back to that. So maybe, just maybe, good people are maybe actually doing some things now. So if I'm right, tell me what you guys think, or is it just more bullshit? But how can the Ukrainian government, controlled by Zelensky, raid Kolomoisky right now? Doesn't seem to make any sense, does it? I mean, if these people are in such control, like I rail about, like you guys know, then how could this time be different? I don't know, but it sure seems like it to me. Again, let me know what you guys think, but I find it very odd that Kolomoisky is getting raided right now. It could also be that with the Biden raids and things that, and you've seen it with the press here recently, and the White House counsel spokesperson yesterday, when they go to ask simple questions now on this matter, of course, nobody can comment now because it's part of a official investigation. So I know you black pillars out there are going to say that, you know, this is just them being able to now take control of all this information and this Biden classified documentations that he's keeping, and it's a way to keep a cap on it, keep the lid on it. But I'm hearing a lot lately about selling classified information. All those spies in China that got killed because of Hillary's closet server. They outed a lot of special access programs that she was copying right to a Chinese shell company through that server, okay, that she had in her closet with stone tear set up for her. It seems as though they're selling classified information. It seems like this may be part of a little gig or a little scam that these people have been doing to us for years. Because when you look at the situation, you see Biden. This isn't anything new. Like, people are like, he's just starting to take stuff because Ukraine or because of this geopolitic issue. They've been doing this. He was doing this since what did they say? Since his time as a U.S. senator, which was 2007 would have been the last time he was a senator. So we're talking about 16 years ago. How long have these people been doing this? Do you think Obama's got classified information he took? I bet you he does. We know Clinton had some in his sock drawer, right? But again, we weren't as sophisticated as we were back then. And I'm talking about the Anons. Anons weren't sophisticated. They weren't even around back then, okay, during the sock drawer Clinton incident. But could it be that was the cover? Kind of like Monica Lewinsky was, and the dress, that was all bullshit to cover for larger, more systemic, possibly pedophilia even. And they put it on something else, something that looks bad, but it ain't that bad, right? And so that's how they do it. So is this another example of that? You know, where they make it look like something else, or to get your attention off of it, to look over here instead. That sock drawer might have been what Clinton agreed to take the heat for. Okay, we'll just do this. We'll call it this. And it never goes any further. Okay? Have these people been running this on us for decades now? Are they taking classified information? I'd like to see George W. Bush. I'd like to see what he took. Are they selling classified information to foreign entities? Looks like Hunter is to Alcoa Inc. He sold classified information on Russians for $55,000 per his emails that the media won't fucking talk about. Is that the scam? Is that what these people are doing? We seen Hillary. We seen her closet server. Is this how they're doing it? If you guys enjoyed this presentation, please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to talk about anything else, I'll stick around for another minute or two. If not, we'll do this again either tomorrow or the next day. I really appreciate you guys, and I thank you. Just as people are coming in. All right, guys, thank you. I will see you tomorrow or the next